colourful Caribbean beach themed resort that appears to have recovered from its multiple construction projects and has surely positioned itself as one of the best moderate Disney World resort options. But is it meeting people's expectations? Hi, I'm the Frugal Brit, and for this video I'm going to give a breakdown of both the positive and negative reviews of Disney's Caribbean beach resort, followed by some tips that I've picked up that'll hopefully help in getting the best out of any vacation at this resort. Alright then, so this complex is seriously huge. It has 6 villages named after Caribbean islands sprawled across 200 acres of land inside Disney World. Those villages being Trinidad North, Trinidad South, Martinique, Barbados, Aruba and Jamaica. And each of those villages has its own separate bus stop to take you to the parks. Like I said, it's huge. This part of Disney World has been subject to 3 substantial construction projects over the past couple years. So you had the old Port Royal overhaul, which is the main hub area, and guests will be pleased to know that this has now been completed, so no more eating out of tents. You've got the ongoing Skyliner construction, which will eventually allow guests to travel around Disney World via a state-of-the-art gondola system coming fall 2019. And lastly, you have the ongoing construction of the Riviera Hotel to the north of the resort. The amenities offered should not disappoint. So each village area has its own quiet pool, and in addition to that, you have the main pool with water slides located in Old Port Royal. And I'll provide a link to a list of all the amenities in the description. So your food options are the Centertown Food Market, which is the resort's food court. You also have the new Sebastian's Bistro table service restaurant, the Spyglass Grill quick service restaurant in the Trinidad village, and you have the Banana Cabana pool bar, which also serves Sebastian's Bistro appetizer food. And I hear if you ask nicely, they'll also serve the full Sebastian's Bistro menu too. The standard rooms are standard fare. You've got refrigerator, decent storage, a pull-out child bed, ironing board, iron, table and chairs, a recently upgraded smart TVs and a coffee machine. Okay, so it makes sense to start the positives with the food. I would say that overall the food is extremely well received. Obviously, Disney price complaints aside, it's really difficult to find reviews of people complaining about the food. And in particular, people are really fond of Sebastian's Bistro, which I hear is fairly easy to get a reservation for too. I would say people are satisfied with the rooms, no one's going crazy about them. The pirate rooms are very cool, but it does seem that the pirate rooms are the rooms located furthest away from Old Port Royal, which is where all the amenities are, obviously. And I suspect this is intentional to lure people to those sides of the resort. I would say the main positive with the rooms is just how quiet they're said to be. Which leads us to what I would say is one of the biggest appeals of this resort, which is how peaceful it is. And this is because the rooms are thinly spread out across 200 acres of land. And this is also one of the weaknesses which we'll get into in the next section. But for those seeking tranquility on their vacation, you won't be disappointed with Disney's Caribbean beach resort, unless you're unlucky enough to get a room next to some maniacs, which I did see in one unfortunate review. The tropical Caribbean theming is fantastic. Guests really appreciate the vibrant colours, the lush landscapes, and how each village area has its own distinct, authentic Caribbean style. It's really picturesque, the grounds are immaculate and beautifully maintained. And the Caribbean music throughout the hotel grounds really helps with the theming as well and deserves a mention. I think one of my favourite parts of the resort is the Caribbean Cay island in the middle of the lake, which guests staying in the Aruba or Jamaica villages have to walk through to get to Old Port Royal. And this is the perfect spot for relaxation. There are lots of places to sit and walk, hang out, lovely views of the lake with hammocks dotted round picnic tables. You've got a kids' playground and it even has a place to show movies in the evening. So as mentioned, you have multiple pools at this resort, with the main Spanish Fort themed pool located in Old Port Royal. You've got 2 slides, one of those aimed for the smaller kids. The pool area is a key centrepiece for this hotel, and it's used quite heavily in Disney's promotion of the resort. And you can see why. The theming is pitch perfect here and has tremendous appeal with its guests. In the words of one guest on TripAdvisor, when you stay at this hotel, you won't be close to anything, not even the hotel's lobby. And I think this captures the sentiment of most people who didn't have a good time at Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort. If you're not staying in one of the villages close to Old Port Royal, be prepared to do a fair amount of walking to get around. And I did some research on TripAdvisor where I searched the name of all the villages as a keyword in TripAdvisor reviews based on a sample of 20. And I found that for those staying at the Aruba village, and Jamaica to a lesser extent, there was a significantly higher chance of people having a poor experience at this resort. Those who had stayed at Aruba, the average score I got was 2.9 out of 5. And unsurprisingly, those staying at Martinique had the best score of 4.05. It's really not just the walking where this distance becomes a problem. The bus transportation is affected by this too, so if you're staying in Aruba, you're going to be on the bus for a lot longer, as it's generally the first stop when going out of the park. Furthermore, with the park exodus and the movement of people headed back to the resort, Aruba is the last stop on drop-off. This problem would be helped if the bus transportation was efficient, but I've seen far too many reviews suggesting that it just isn't. Many are waiting over half an hour for buses and then being packed in like sardines. There's been issues of people waiting in long queues only for people arriving late and disregarding such queues due to poor regulation. And to make matters even worse, Disney started charging resort guests $24 per night for parking in March 2018 in a push to get people to stop using cars and to use its own transportation system. I believe the issue of transportation is leading a proportion of guests to conclude that this resort is not offering acceptable value. Let me know in the comments if you think this is fair. As detailed earlier, there's been a huge amount of construction at this resort in recent years. There's a proportion of guests who have taken issue with how the construction has affected their experience, especially for 2017 and 2018. Although it's getting better, the construction of the Riviera Hotel has been quite the eyesore. I would say most people are pleased with the overhaul of Old Port Royal, but there are some who feel that the new food court lacks character and is not as vibrantly themed. It seems that Disney have replaced some of the old Caribbean flavour for a more upmarket style. Some will appreciate this, but there are those who don't. I should note that the disappointment here is pretty mild. Hi guys, quickly just before I get onto the summary and my tips, I just wanted to ask that if you are enjoying this review so far, please hit the like button, and if you're interested in these sort of reviews for every hotel in Orlando, which is what I plan to do, don't forget to subscribe. So in summary, there's plenty to be happy about with this resort. I believe it's suited perfectly for people who aren't pressed for time, and for those that really appreciate good theming and nice relaxing walks whilst taking in the scenery. If that's what you're into, then you'll find this resort to be a fountain of comfort. But you need to be prepared for far from perfect transportation and long walks to the hotel lobby depending on where your room is located. I should note that transportation problems could all change though when the Skyliner opens up towards the end of the year, fingers crossed. This will allow guests to travel far more comfortably to Epcot and Hollywood Studios and a few other destinations, and could be a real game changer for this resort over the next 12 months. So now for my tips for Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort. Number 1, room selection. Due to the issues highlighted earlier, you won't be surprised that I won't be recommending a room in Aruba. Instead, I would recommend a room in buildings 26, 25, 24, 31, 32 or 33 in that order of preference. which are nearest to Old Port Royal. Fortunately, Disney allows you to request a room in a particular building 60 days beforehand using Disney's online check-in system. However, I wouldn't request a specific room number, instead just highlight what it is you're looking for. And you can also ask for a room near the transportation for the village you'll be staying at. I'll provide a link in the description to help you in doing this. Number 2. If you're on a tight budget for your vacation, I believe that reception will offer you the chance to opt out of housekeeping for $40. So if you're interested, you may want to inquire about this when you check in. Number 3. So I mentioned how well received Sebastian's Bistro was earlier, but the Spyglass Grill is no slouch either, which serves a lot of the same food from the Centretown market. And I saw a couple of people recommend this restaurant if you want to avoid all the hustle and bustle of Old Port Royal and just want something quick in the morning. This restaurant is located in Trinidad South, and apparently the mobile ordering here works very well. Number 4. Bit of a basic tip here, which is to give yourself plenty of time to catch the buses to the parks in the morning, because it can get quite busy and you may find yourself in a queue, especially with the bus to the Magic Kingdom. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it useful, please like and subscribe. You can check out my other reviews of the Cabana Bay and the Rosen Inn Point Orlando. Generally, I will alternate between a budget hotel and a more expensive hotel every week. The goal of this channel is to review every noteworthy hotel in Orlando, so do stick around if that's something you'd be interested in.